Hello dear students, welcome back in class 10th biology. Students, I hope that you all are fine. Today we will continue chapter 8, how do organisms reproduce? The main topic of today's lecture is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. In today's lecture, we will learn in detail about sexual reproduction and its characteristics, need of sexual reproduction, how are number of chromosomes maintained in next generation, structure of flower, types of flowers, pollination and types of pollination, fertilization in flower, post-fertilization changes in a flower, structure of seed and advantages of seed. What is sexual reproduction and its characteristics? Sexual reproduction involves two parents, that are one male parent and one female parent. So sexual reproduction is biparental. It involves special sex organs or gonads, that are testes in males and ovaries in females. Special gametes or sex cells or reproductive cells or germ cells are produced, like sperm in male and ovum singular and ova plural in female. Then fertilization between male and female gametes takes place. Then fertilized egg cell called zygote is formed. As it involves two parents, so new individuals are genetically dissimilar to their parents. This leads to variations, as large variations occur during sexual reproduction. So sexual reproduction leads to evolution to greater extent. What is the need of sexual reproduction? Students, in the previous lecture, you have learned that in asexual reproduction, the offsprings are almost identical to their parents because they have same genes as of their parents due to copying of DNA and cellular apparatus. You have also learned that DNA copying is not an error-proof method. It involves certain errors, and errors during DNA copying are the source of variations in the population of an organism. If these variations are unfavorable, then every individual organism cannot be protected by the variations and would die. On the other hand, if these variations are favorable, then these variations help in the survival of species. As DNA copying mechanisms are not absolutely accurate, they are precise enough to make the generation of variation a fairly slow process and would not lead to evolution. So due to these limitations of asexual reproduction, there is a need of sexual reproduction, where two parents are involved, one male and one female. Both parents incorporate their DNA into a new individual. They contribute equally their chromosomes and DNA in the next generation. The combining variations from two parents would create new combinations of variants, and each combination would be novel, as it involves different individuals which have accumulated variations from their ancestors. These variations ensure the better adaptability and survival of living organisms in the changed environment. Thus, the offsprings have more genetic variations. This leads to evolution of various species. Students, now one question arises. If both the parents, that are male and female parents, contribute equal amount of their genetic material in the form of chromosomes and DNA to their next generation, that is their children, then how the number of chromosomes remain constant in next generation? As you all know, humans have 46 number of chromosomes in their body cells. If both parents contribute 46 number of chromosomes in next generation, then the total amount of chromosomes in the body cells of new generation will be 92, which would not be possible in human beings. As human beings have 46 number of chromosomes in their body cells, then how the number of chromosomes is restored in the next generation? Let us find the solution of this problem. Sexual reproduction involves two parents, that are one male parent and one female parent. They have diploid body cells. Diploid cells means the cells that have double set of chromosomes in their nucleus. For example, in human beings, 46 number of chromosomes are present in their body cells. At the time of gamete formation, they produce haploid gametes, that are sperm and ovum, by the process of meiosis cell division, during which number of chromosomes are reduced to half in gametes. At the time of fertilization, these haploid gametes fuse together and form a diploid zygote, in which number of chromosomes and DNA content is re-established or restored or maintained. And then this zygote grows into a new individual. Let us see with the help of this flow chart that male parent and female parent have diploid body cells, which is represented by 2n. For example, in human males and females, diploid body cells contain 46 number of chromosomes in their nuclei. At the time of gametogenesis or gamete formation, the cells of male gonad, that are testes, and cells of female gonad, that are ovaries, divide by meiosis cell division and produce haploid gametes, sperm and ovum respectively, in which number of chromosomes are reduced to half, and haploid gametes are represented by single n. That is, for let us see that human body cells contain 46 number of chromosomes, and at the time of gametogenesis 46 number is reduced to 23 in the gametes. So these two haploid gametes, sperm and ovum from male and female parents, fuse at the time of fertilization with each other and form zygote. Zygote is a fertilized egg cell which divides and redivides to form a new individual. Now let us learn about sexual reproduction in flowering plants. This picture shows the longitudinal section of flower. Flower is the main reproductive organ of angiospermic plants or flowering plants. It mainly consists of 4 whorls or parts. The outermost part or whorl of the flower is sepals, which is green in color. Inner to the sepals, there are beautifully colored part of the flower called petals. These two are the non-reproductive parts of the flower, but play very important role in sexual reproduction. In flowers, inner to the petals, there are present reproductive parts of the flower. This is the stamen, which is the male reproductive part of the flower, which further consists of anthers and filaments. Inner to the stamen, there is present female reproductive part of the flower, that is carpel or pistil, which further consists of 3 main parts: stigma, style, ovary. Inside the ovary, there are present ovules, and all these 4 whorls are present on the swollen part of the flower called receptacle, and this portion of the flower is known as pedicel. This is the stalk of the flower. Now let us see all various parts of the flower and their functions in detail one by one. Flower is the main reproductive organ of angiospermic plants. It consists of 4 whorls or parts. Sepals, group of sepals is called calyx. It is the outermost whorl of the flower, and function of sepals are that they protect the inner parts of the flower in bud stage and being green in color, it performs the function of photosynthesis. Petals, group of petals is also called corolla. It is the second whorl of the flower. It is available in various colors in various flowers to attract the insects for pollination. The third whorl of the flower is stamens, and scientifically group of stamens called androecium. It is the third whorl of the flower. It is the male reproductive part of the flower, which consists of anthers and filament. You can see from here, this portion is anther and this is called filament. In the anthers, there are pollen sacs in which pollen grains are present. Then come to the female reproductive part of the flower, that is carpel or pistil. Scientifically, they are called gynoecium. It is the fourth or innermost whorl of the flower. It is the female reproductive part of the flower, which further consists of three main parts. Swollen bottom part is ovary. Then middle elongated part is called style, and terminal sticky part is called stigma. In ovary, there are present ovules and each ovule contains an egg cell. Now see the types of flowers. There are two main types of flowers, unisexual flower and bisexual flower, on the basis of reproductive organs present in them. The flower that have only one type of reproductive organ, either male or female part, means either stamen as a male part or female as a carpel or pistil part, then this is called unisexual flower. If it contains only male reproductive part, that is stamen, it is called staminate flower, and if it contains only carpel or pistil, female reproductive part, then this flower is known as pistillate flower. So they are either called male flowers or female flowers. Example of such type of flowers are papaya, watermelon. Bisexual flower is the flower that contains both reproductive organs, that is stamen and pistil. These type of flowers are also called hermaphrodite flowers, and such type of flowers are present in hibiscus and mustard plants. Now let us learn about pollination and types of pollination. The transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma is called pollination. There are two types of pollination, self-pollination and cross-pollination. Let us see. The self-pollination is also known as autogamy. The transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of the same flower or on the other flower present on the same plant is called self-pollination. It mostly occurs in bisexual flowers, as both male and female reproductive organs are present in the same flower. For this type of pollination, no external agents or pollinators like water, insects, animals or wind is required. And this type of pollination, the plants in which this type of pollination takes place are genetically similar to parents. Then see cross-pollination. The transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of other flower present on the other plant of same kind is called cross-pollination. This type of pollination normally occurs in unisexual flowers, and for this type of pollination, various external agents or pollinators are required like wind, water, insects or animals. As it involves two plants of the same kind, it leads to variation, which further leads to evolution. After pollination, now let us learn about fertilization in flowering plants or germination of pollen on stigma. This picture shows the female reproductive part of the flower, that is carpel or pistil, which consists of sticky stigma, elongated style, and basal swollen part, that is ovary. Inside ovary there is an embryo sac in which ovule is present. This picture shows the pollen grain. When pollen grain lands on stigma, it starts dividing. Its nucleus divides to form two nuclei, vegetative nucleus and generative nucleus. Vegetative nucleus grows to form pollen tube. Generative nucleus divides further to form two male gametes. This pollen tube enters into ovary through style by carrying two male gametes and enters the embryo sac of the ovary part, where egg cell is present. First male gamete fuses with female gamete to form zygote. Second male gamete fuses with these two polar nuclei present in the center of ovule and forms endosperm. This is how two times fertilization takes place in the angiospermic plants. One fusion, first male gamete fuses with female gamete to form zygote, and second male gamete fuses with polar nuclei to form endosperm. Due to these two fertilization, double fertilization takes place in angiospermic plants. Let us see once again the process of fertilization in angiospermic or flowering plants. Let us recall what you have learned with the help of diagram in this previous slide, that after pollination, when pollen grains land on suitable stigma, it grows to produce a long pollen tube. The nucleus of pollen grain divides and give rise to two male gametes. Pollen tube enters the ovary through style. In the ovary, pollen tube enters into ovule through micropyle. There is a small pore present through which the pollen tube enters the ovule, and first male gamete fuses with egg to form zygote. Then zygote later grows into embryo. The second male gamete fuses with secondary nucleus or two polar nuclei and form endosperm. What is the role of endosperm? It stores food for the initial growth of embryo. In this way, double fertilization takes place in angiospermic or flowering plants. Now let's see what happens in flower after fertilization. What are the post-fertilization changes occur in flower? What is the fate or future of the flower after fertilization? After fertilization, the zygote, which is formed by the fusion of first male gamete and female gamete, divides several times to form an embryo within the ovule. Then ovule develops a tough coat and is gradually converted into seed. In this way, ovule after fertilization changes into seed. Ovary grows rapidly and ripened to form fruit. So mature ovary after fertilization forms fruit, and the ripened ovary is called fruit. Meanwhile, the various floral parts of the flower like petals, sepals, stamen, style and stigma may shrivel off and fall off. Only fruit with seeds is left behind. Sometimes, in some cases, some floral part like sepals remain behind even after fertilization. Like in brinjal, you see the green part as a cap of a brinjal fruit. That is the sepal part, which may persist even after fertilization, but mostly after fertilization all floral parts shrivel off and fall off. So this is the future of the flower after fertilization. Now let us see the structure of seed. Seed is a ripened ovule. It is covered by a tough covering called seed coat. It consists of one or two cotyledons which serves food for the initial growth of embryo. This embryo has a leaf-like structure called plumule, which represent the future shoot part of the plant and grows to form shoot system. Conical part of this embryo is called radicle, which grows to form root system. So this is about the structure of seed. What are the various advantages of seed formation? First is perennation. When seed does not grow, it remains in dormant condition. Seed has dormant or inactive embryo and impermeable tough coat which enables it to tolerate the unfavorable conditions. Dispersal. Seeds are small, light and tough and can easily be dispersed to long distances where they can germinate and grow to form a new plant under appropriate conditions. Protection. Seeds protect the embryo, that is future baby plant present in these seeds. It germinates under only favorable conditions, means when they get suitable temperature, warmth, air, nutrients. So what is seed germination? The seed contains future plant called embryo which develops into seedling or young plant under appropriate conditions. This is called seed germination. So students, this is all about today's lecture. I hope that you have understood this sexual reproduction in flowering plants. If you have any query or any doubt, you can ask me telephonically or through WhatsApp. Thank you so much for watching this video and listening to the lecture. Stay safe, stay healthy.